You are now tuned into the sounds of
Big Nate Sports Talk.
It's on all the time, anytime.
Tuned in to Big Nate Sports Talk, the show that is on all the time, anytime. And now, ladies and gentlemen, the next big thing, the latest up-and-coming sports journalist, your host, Nathan Snell.
Thank you, Handy, for that lovely introduction. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's your host, Nathan Snell of Big Nate Sports Talk Podcast. Hope you're all doing well. Hope you're all having a great weekend. Hope you're all staying safe. Before we get into this video, there's a few things I'd like to say up front. I want to make a special announcement. If you follow me on Twitter at @1NathanSnell, you can see I made an announcement that tomorrow is my first media credentialed in-person game covering the Washington Mystics. I want to take this opportunity and thank the Washington Mystics for giving me the opportunity. Also, too, from MLBSportsblog.com, again, also gave me an opportunity. A lot of people I would like to thank. There's a lot of people I could go down the road and thank, but friends, family, I appreciate the support. Thank you. This is just the beginning. You'll see more of me at WNBA games, particularly for the Mystics. Stay tuned for the Maryland women's basketball team. Got a lot of great things on that. Can't wait to do that this year. I'm just grateful for the opportunity. Some nerves, but we're going to soak everything in and be ready for the moment. But in this episode, we're going over the draft. As you see the title, MLB The Show. This arguably I think this is probably one of the best classes in my opinion. One thing that I said that was standing about this draft in the first round, I didn't see a left-handed pitcher get drafted into the 46th pick, and I believe that was Colorado who took that pick. I was surprised because typically, okay, a southpaw is someone's usually taken in the first round. So I was very, very shocked to see nobody get drafted. I think the last person who was drafted in the first round, I think his name was Cooper Jerpin. And then I was surprised by that. And now Colorado takes with the fourth. I don't understand that. I mean, to me, you can make a case there were some left-handed pitchers that should have been in the first round. But I think for me, I'm kind of wondering if analytics played a role in this, because you know how baseball loves their analytics. This year, I also noticed for the high school, the prep schools, a lot of shortstops this year. Like I said, they definitely made their presence known in the first round. There are some teams that reached that could have been better. I will say, for the most part, it was a decent draft, and we're going to get into it. With the first overall pick in the 2023 MLB draft, the Pittsburgh Pirates, took Paul Skins. I liked this pick, honestly and truthfully, for them. For me, I felt like they always needed a pitcher. They compared him to Steven Strasburg. I think he's a little bit better than Steven. To me, before the injury, Steven Strasburg was one of the most highly regarded prospects. And to me, coming out of LSU, he was just, to me, I think, a big piece of the reason why they won the championship. Now, I don't want to call it, but he and Strasburg might have the same timeline in terms of being caught up in a rotation. I'm going to give it like 2 years. I think he's a talent, but I need to see what the Pittsburgh Pirates are going to do with this talent. Now you're starting to see a core built in Pittsburgh. Brian Reynolds, you gave him a contract extension. Brian Hayes and Henry Davis. The pieces are there. I just want to just now see how they build on this success. I consider Dylan Cruz the number 1 overall pick, if you asked me. For me, my only issue with it's when you've taken a pitcher with the first overall pick, that's risky. But I like the confidence. And there's no reason why you couldn't take him number 1 overall. Number 2, the Washington Nationals took Dylan Cruz. I love it. Like I said, I think the Nationals with their rebuilding mode, I think is right on time. I give it another couple years and the Nationals will be right back where they were. To me, I think he was the best overall player in this draft. For me, even before he went to LSU in high school, he was still touted as a number 1, as a first round pick. For me, he I think just got better as the season progressed. And, I can make the argument and still say he could have been a number 1 overall pick. For me, he's probably one of the most balanced hitters that I saw this season. You'll probably see him batting number 3, 4, 5 in the middle of that lineup. To me, his walk to strikeout ratio was pretty good this year. I think he had like 71 walks compared to about 45, 46 strikeouts. He did hit 18 home runs. So this only question is where he's going to play. Most likely I see him playing center field. And I know in the Nationals, you had Bryce Harper, Juan Soto, and those guys. I think he'll be fine. And again, C.J. Abrams, Mackenzie Gore, Keibert Ruiz, you got a core there. And again, this is just the start. Number 3, Max Clark. I liked this pick. Out of Frank, I think he's at high school. This was a high school pick, high schooler. For me, I was expecting a pitcher, but I see why they took him. I think this is more of a developmental project. I think he definitely there's room for improvement. He has he has the frame. I can see a potential power bat here. I would have taken Wyatt Langford, who was taken with the next pick, personally, only because I kind of want to know what more did we see. Now, I know they compared him to, I forgot who they compared him to. No, somebody from the Cubs. I think the only thing you can make an argument, I think why he was taken was his offensive upside. And he's got a good bat speed. And other than that, I still think I wouldn't say this was a reach, but I would have went with the next person out of Florida, and that was Wyatt Langford. Personally, this was probably another one. He was arguably to go number 1 as well. And I looked at most of the mock drafts, even before the draft. They didn't have him go no lower than 4, some 3. In Texas, I was surprised they took him. I thought they were going to go with another pitcher. For me, I value pitching. That's just me. I think he's arguably the best hitter in this draft. You see the power, you see the speed. I haven't seen that. To me, my only concern is I think he's going to be more of a corner outfielder in the MLB to compare where he's playing in center. I give him maybe two good years before he's called up. Again, the SEC dominated the first 3 picks. So I'm curious to see how that's going to determine his development, because I'm just a little concerned about longevity and playing center field, because as time progresses, guys end up going into the corners. That's just me. With the 5th overall pick, Minnesota took Walter Jenkins, not a high schooler. For me, they took the best player. They took the best player that was available to them. I still think Walter Jenkins was the smart pick. For me, I still think this is another one. I see him more of a corner than an actual center fielder. I think he'll probably fit in the middle of that lineup. I might take some flack for this, but I could see him potentially. I see Minnesota moving on from Byron Buxton, personally, because the injuries, and just I don't think that's what we expected from him at this point in his career. I thought he would have taken that step, but last few seasons we kept having to say, can he stay healthy? And personally, I think it's best to just move on from him. And I think this is most likely the guy that's going to replace him in that lineup. I think this was definitely a safety pick. If you're Minnesota, I like it. And I think he's a better defensive outfielder, and he has definitely a little bit more base running abilities than Max Clark did. That's just my personal opinion. And then painfully, the Oakland Athletics, with the 6th overall pick, selected Jacob Wilson.
What are you? How?
It's not Jacob Wilson. It's not coming out. It's not that he's not a bad player. I think this is a reach. The biggest concern, most people would say, he's offensively. He's not a power hitter. I would consider him a contact hitter. He only hit 6 home runs and only had less than 10 steals. He definitely would make an impact on this team. But yes, he struck out 6 times. I think he batted over 400. It was like 412, 411. Yes. But this was surprising. I was kind of expecting something different. I just feel like this was not a top 10 pick. Let me just say it like that. Number 7, Cincinnati took Brett Lauder. I like this pick. Another pitcher, Wake Forest. For me, Cincinnati just needs to continue just developing their pitching. Definitely love him. He's got a great changeup. That was something I noticed in the scouting report. For me, I noticed the last few years with their pitching in Cincinnati, they've got it coming together. Other than Paul, I think he might be. I could see him definitely making an impact as soon as possible. Now, I was considering Hurston Wardep and Chase Dolander here with this pick. Really, I had all of them in the top 10 in my mock draft, but I can see why they went with him. And there's no shame in it. You could go with either one of those 3 pitchers with this pick if you're Cincinnati, but it was a solid pick. 8, Kansas City took Blake Mitchell. Okay, let me say it like this. This was not a risky pick compared to if you draft a pitcher. But there's similarities. Let me give you a statistic. Of the 18 first-round high school catchers, I want to say it was since 2010, only 5 have reached the major league level.
I can't defend that. What do you want me to say to that?
That's very risky, if you ask me. Yes, he to me, I just think I don't want to say history is going to repeat itself, but no really catcher. I will say I can give you 5 catchers that I can remember, well, maybe 3: Joe Mauer, Matt Wieters. I just don't see it. I think it's risky. I do. I mean, yes, NJ Melendez, he's developing nicely, but I I don't know. I mean, I think yes, he's got the athleticism. He's got a good arm as a catcher. I value that, but in the top 10, I don't know. Let me see what it looks like in about 3 years, 2 3 years, and we'll take it from there. Colorado took Chase Dolander with a 9th overall pick. I like this pick for Colorado because they they eat a lot. Um, Everything, including the kitchen sink. For me, same thing. This is arguing. I'd say he was a top 5 prospect in this draft. Um, there were some struggles. I think he'll get better off his command, particularly in the fastball. Will get better. He has a decent slider. Look at the scouting report, and particularly at Coors Field, I think he'll do just fine. Um, for me, Colorado has always historically, for me, I don't know what it is, they've struggled with developing good pitchers. Maybe I mean there's been some good ones, but they need a guy that to me has high upside. Um, and I mean, probably one guy that comes to my mind, maybe John Gray. I could see that for sure. But other than that, I like the pick. But to me, it all is on Colorado because you picked him. Now let's get him. Let's make sure he's truly developed, and you get to if you really make you get you're getting enough out of him because I just hate to see a good pitcher like this just be wasted talent in Colorado. And then finally, with the top 10 pick, the Miami Marlins, they took Noble Meyer. Decent, not mad at this. Another high school pick. For me, this was the best preparatory high school pitcher. I seen some videos on YouTube. He's hit triple digits on fastball. Um, I was amazed by that. Um, I think he has a very solid command. For me, the same thing about Blake Mitchell. It's pitchers coming out of preparatory schools. There's always a high risk, high gamble to me, especially early. Um, and history has shown that. So I'm curious to see what they'll look like because if you've paid attention, most teams historically will pass. They'll wait later in the draft to take a guy like this, any pitcher like this, in my personal opinion. The 11th overall pick, the Los Angeles Angels. I can't say that. The Anaheim Angels, excuse me. I can't say Los Angeles. I'm sorry. The Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. They took Nolan Chanel, first baseman out of Florida Athletic, I think, if I'm saying that correct. Yes. Just need to develop some hitting. If your goal is to get, some hitters up to the big leagues, I think this is your guy. I think he's probably one of the best. He has a good glove. He can put a little bit of corner outfield. I think he's got a good, decent power in his bat. He just needs a little bit more development. But other than that, I like this pick. There's a couple other guys I would have considered. Maybe Matt Shaw out of Maryland. Maybe Bryce Aldridge out of James Madison, another preparatory high school pick. Maybe Tommy Troy, Stanford third baseman. There's a couple of picks you could have picked. You could have went here, honestly and truthfully, but it wasn't bad. The only thing, a lot of people expected him to finish somewhere in the top 20. So, I mean, I think where he was taken, that's fair. Not mad at that. Number 12, Tommy Troy. Like this pick coming out of Stanford. They just need hitting. And I think drafting a hitter, especially looking at their lineup at times, Arizona, they need a hitter. And I think um, watching him play a role in Stanford getting to the College World Series, um, I see why they took a guy like this. I could. He will most likely be the third baseman at Arizona. Um, I mean, when you look at it, uh, I think he just has the tools. I think he will thrive. My only concern, I don't really get the argument why some believe he'll play second base. I don't see that. Um, it's talking about. I mean, he has played short and third, but I don't know where this argument's coming from that he could play second. I don't get that, in my personal opinion. But I think it was a good pick. Number 13, Chicago took Maryland's finest, Mr. Matt Shaw. Um, again, for me, Matt Shaw, um, he was probably walked. Then he struck out this year. He batted over 340. Um, he has a lot of power in his bat. He stole 18 to 19 bases. The only issue I will probably say a flaw is his defense, um, which I believe will get better as time progresses. That's about it. Um, I can't see anything else. Could he play some shortstop? Could he play some third base? We'll see. But for a guy who can hit from the left side, I don't see why you don't like this pick. So for me, I like it. Number 14, the Boston Red Sox took Kyle Teal out of Virginia. Um, I felt like they needed a catcher. For me, I like this pick. Some mock drafts had him going top 5, top 10. Um, I I'm kind of curious if he's going to get the Henry Davis treatment because Henry Davis can play center, he can play catcher, and he can play outfield. Um, I mean, I think this is a good value for the Red Sox because what they have currently in the backstop is not good. It's not good right now, but they're just taking the game by game, in my opinion. But um, I think he's probably one of the most contact over power hitters coming out in this draft. So I'm not mad at it. Uh, I think this is a good value, personally, if you ask me, if you're Boston. 15, the Chicago White Sox took Jacob Gonzalez out of Mississippi. Um, again, I saw some mock drafts where he was in the top 5, top 10. Um, and I think for a player of his caliber, I think he has a bat that will do well in the majors. And I think he has the ability to be an everyday shortstop. He doesn't have, I don't see any weaknesses in his game. Again, this was a safety pick. Personally, I would have liked to see them take a pitcher, but that's okay. Even though, again, you're getting a left-handed hitting shortstop, I think this was more for defense. They took more of a defensive shortstop, but I like it. And knowing Ole Miss, they do produce some good hitters. 16, San Francisco took Bryce Eldridge. For me, you got a two-way player here. Now, last year, I think they took somebody by the name of Reggie Crawford. Same thing, developing him to a two-way player. Now, for those who don't know Mr. Bryce Eldridge, he's 6'7". He got some pop in that bat. He's got a decent fastball, decent slider. I I don't want to compare him to Shohei Ohtani just yet, but I'm curious to see how he'll look. I think he'll do just fine because he played first base. He was right-handed pitcher out of James Madison. So that's a good pick. For me, I'm not mad at it. It's not risky, especially as a left-handed hitter. I'm actually surprised the Giants. I was hoping the Orioles would get him personally. Um, I think developing Reggie Crawford just did not pan out, I think, the way they wanted to, and that's okay, honestly. And maybe it will go better around this time. That's just my opinion. The 17th overall pick, the Baltimore Orioles selected Enrique Bradford Jr. Where's my clip? For me, we can already talk about how the Orioles have been playing on tremendous baseball. For me, he gives me vibes of being an old school leadoff hitter. Doesn't have a lot of pop in his bat, but he's definitely a contact hitter, and that's all. That's what I want. I want a guy who can just hit the ball, get on base, and just be an elite defender. I just don't think hitting the days, in my personal opinion, the days of hitting 30, 40 home runs, I think those days I don't think that really matters to me. As long as you're getting on base, that's more important to me. I think he has the chance to be a dynamic player. Now, my concern, because the current outfield group we have, I potentially see somebody going. I just don't see, unless somebody's going to move to first or somebody's going to get traded. I'm a little concerned to see where he'll fit, because I think you can make a case to pay. You can make a case to keep Austin Hayes, Cedric Mullins, and Santander. But I'm a little concerned as time progresses who stays, who goes. Now, me personally, I would have liked to have gotten a pitcher, but that's okay. I'm okay with this pick. For me, again, to me, I think taking him at 17, that was a big gamble, and I like it, honestly. Before we get to the 18th overall pick, let's get into the sponsor of Big Nate Sports Talk Podcast, and that is, ladies and gentlemen, Zagnif Apparel. Ladies and gentlemen, do you want to dress like you're already famous? You can and you will with Zagnif Apparel.
The following is a presentation of Zagnif Productions, LLC. Introducing Zagnif Apparel. Our comfortable line of leisure wear and athletic wear will have you comfortable and stylish at any occasion. Whether you're at the gym, out shopping, or just relaxing at home. Whether you're an athlete or just want to lay around the house, we've got the perfect outfit for you. Stop by our website today and pick up your favorite pieces. Zagnif Apparel. Dress like you're already famous.
You can most certainly do that with a nice 20% off using my code BIGNATE for 15% off your final purchase. Thank you for Zagnif Apparel for being a sponsor of Big Nate Sports Talk Podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, I promise you, you will dress like you're already famous. with the 18th overall pick, Milwaukee took Brock Wilken. I like this. Nothing wrong with Wake Forest pick. For me, I thought he had a decent season. We had a good season, at Wake Forest. To me, he was a player that stood out to me as a third baseman. I will say it's not fair to get on him because, again, the ACC, in terms of pitching, yes. Did he disappoint? Sure. But to me, I've noticed, and even watching Maryland as an example, the Big Ten, they like to split power conference players and focus on weaker teams. I don't get that logic, but anywho, for me, I think from what I read on him, he definitely made a difference this year in his game. He cut down on his strikeouts. I think last year he struck out 71 times. He struck out less than 60 this year. He was walked almost 70 times. I can see him playing he could be a platoon playing first and third. I still think this is a middle of the lineup guy Milwaukee can use. I like this pick for them. If you pushed me, I would have went with Brendan Taylor, but either one was fine with this pick. Number 19, Tampa Bay took Braden Taylor. I like this pick for them as well. For me, I was surprised he dropped almost it was in the top 20. Looking at his stats, you could tell he kind of had a slow start, and in the second half, he picked it up. In TCU, I think he was probably one of the reasons why they got to me for the college playoffs. I think he's going to be a big asset for Tampa. I think he just continue to develop, and knowing how Tampa Bay has been historically with prospects, I think they're going to get a great hitter. He kind of gives me Evan Longoria vibes, in my personal opinion. That's a player I can compare him to, but I think to me also he could play defense. He's got a good glove at third base. He had I think he had his own career high 22 home runs this past season. So we'll see how this looks. Give it about 2 years. I think I can see him being called up on the major league level. Across the border, Toronto, they took Arjun Namela. I apologize if I name dropped that. Another preparatory high school pick. This is a project to me. I think he needs time to develop. I think he's shown he has the tools. He could definitely he could develop into a good player. I think he has I think he's very athletic. I think he has a good glove. And I think you always want that. I value that. There's a lot of upside for me. I can't see him playing any other position other than shortstop. I mean, I think he's 6'1". He's about 170. So there's definitely room for improvement for sure. But I see this as a project pick, developmental. Give it about maybe 3, 4, I'll say about 3 years. I think he'll be okay. Number 21, the St. Louis Cardinals selected Chase Davis. For me, another one. I noticed if you paid attention, some of these guys in this draft, the year before, they cut down on their strikeout tendencies. And this was another one of them. For me, this is not a gamble. This is a good pick for me. I think he has all the tools to be a five-star outfielder. He's got the power, he's got the speed, he's got the arm, and he could defend on either corner parts of the outfield. Still can work on his hitting. He needs to be a little more consistent, but I think he showed that this year. Because most people had him going in the second round, and I was surprised by that. So St. Louis saw something in him that I didn't and many others didn't. So I like that pick for St. Louis. 22, the Seattle Mariners selected Colt Emerson. This is another one. I was surprised. Another high school preparatory pick. Again, I still think, and I've noticed this maybe with the Orioles too, drafting infielders and then putting them at not maybe he could play second, maybe he could play third, maybe he could play first. Middle infielders typically can play any position, in my opinion. I'm curious to see where he'll go. Personally, I think he has the tools. I don't think it's a reach for this pick. His hitting just needs to be continued to develop. This was to me a safety pick because especially I think from what I read, I was reading a couple things where I forgot where he committed, and to me, just like Baltimore did it before, sign somebody for lesser money to save it for later picks. Understood. So we'll see how this looks. I mean, I think it's a solid pick. I would like to know a little bit more what they're going to do with him. I can see him playing second and short. So the Cleveland Guardians took Ralphie Velasquez. For me, this is a first baseman and a catcher. I think again from the left side of the batter's box, he's got a good. He can hit the ball. Okay. I'm curious to know how that's going to work because Bo Naylor is now up here in Major League. And I can't see them letting go of Josh Naylor. So maybe somebody gets developed. Maybe I could see him being maybe potentially playing third. I don't know. But again, another catcher like Blake Mitchell, it's risky. The biggest question to me when I looked a little digging on him, a lot of people were saying his defense. I think he doesn't have the best arm, and to me, this is more of a developmental project. Now, those things can change. I think he has to develop on the defensive side of the ball, and I think Cleveland is the team to do that. I think being a platoon player, I think will benefit him in the long run. Personally, 24, Atlanta took Hurston Waldrep. I like this. Atlanta's just been on fire with developing pitchers. I think he's probably one of the most. He's already, like I said, I think he was a top 5 pitcher in this draft, in my personal opinion. Other than I think he did well. Excuse me using that. He did well for most of the season. You could probably say against LSU, he gave up 6 walks. But know how Atlanta is and know how Atlanta has developed their pitchers. You know, Kyle Wright, Max Fried, when healthy. Spencer Strider, Cy Young candidate, MVP candidate, in my opinion. And then other guys too, Bryce Elder. Atlanta, I think will definitely get a lot out of him, and I think this is a good place for him. I think the biggest reason I was surprised he fell this far in the draft, and I think a lot of it just had to do with because of his command. If I remember seeing the statistic correct, it was like less than 15%. He walked 15% more of SEC opponents than really, yeah, that's about 15% of his SEC opponents. And I was kind of like, So Hurston will be fine. 25, San Diego took Dylan Head. I like this pick. For me, he's a defensive. I think he's more of a defensive outfielder. I think he can be a good hitter. I think the power will get there over time. If he has the right toolage and he has the right, I think this is the right place for him to develop. Um, I just feel like Sandy, this might need some time. If everything clicks and everything's aligning perfectly, this is a steal for San Diego, in my opinion. And I like this pick, even though, again, the hitting is to me suspect. 26, George Lambert Jr., son of former baseball player George Lambert. Like this pick. Another preparatory high school pick. For me, I think the reason he was taken the first one because of his power. He's got a lot of pop in that bat. He kind of reminds me of his dad a little bit, but there's some adjustments he can make for sure, particularly when he gets into now the pro level. I mean, there are some swing and miss consistency at times, but I think it'll be fine. I think because I know some people may have given up on Valdep, for the shortstop for the Yankees, but I can see George being a third baseman. But give him time. I think he'll develop into a consistent power hitter, in my opinion. 27, the Philadelphia Phillies, took Aiden Miller. Like this one. Another one. He's a little bit older. I would say, particularly in terms of high school, he was older prospect. I like this pick. For me, he's probably one of the best power hitters for his class, especially for a high school. He's a solid third baseman. There's a lot of upside and potential for this pick to grow, in my personal opinion. I mean, only question is, will he be a third baseman at the major league level? That's for sure to see. I think Alec Bloom is doing okay. I think they've been a little bit more better. I think they want a little bit more results. But I think looking at Aiden, I think he's arguably probably the best corner infielder in this class. You can make an argument saying he was. And with the final pick of the 2023 MLB draft, the Houston Astros selected Bryce Matthews.
What was that? What the hell was that? I'm sorry the H words and the D words aren't appropriate over the airwaves, but it's going to be today. I don't know how much more of this I can take. How in God's name?
Okay. Other than maybe Blake Mitchell and Jacob Wilson, this was by far probably the most head scratchers I ever saw. This was by far a reach. Let me just get this out there. I think Bryce has the potential to being a great player in this league. Here's the problem. His upside is very, very hard to get a feel on. Yes, he can run the bases. I think he can be a 20 and 20 guy, but he needs time to develop, particularly on the offensive side of the ball. And yes, this was a long term. I think it'll pan out. Short term, I'm concerned about his approach at the plate. I'm concerned about his power and just contact. I think this is a developmental pick. He's going to need some. He needs time to develop. Personally, in my personal opinion, I think he'll be okay. I think I could see him being a shortstop, but I could see him potentially playing other positions. I could see him playing first. I could see him, not the first. I could see him playing second, third. I could see him being kind of moving around the infield, in my personal opinion. So that was very interesting to know. I was like, okay. And that concluded the first round. just so you understand, for the first round, there was only 28 picks. And let me just give you an understanding of that. So personally, from my understanding of how it works is composition balance A is it gives out 14 balance picks. It gives them to the 10 smallest market teams and the bottom 10 of the revenue. So that means they all fall after the first and second round. So they're in between the drafts. So that's how I understand what they are. Now, the prospect promotional picks, this was something that was added to the recent CBA, which it basically means is you can bring up prospects sooner. Example, Bobby Witt Jr., Jeremy Pena, Spencer Tolkien, Hunter Green, Adley Rutschman are all examples. So basically what it's saying is if you have a guy who's called up, I believe, if I'm saying this correctly, Michael Harris Jr., right? He didn't have enough service time with the Braves. I think to finish, I forgot it's something like that. But he did have a full year of service, and they are guaranteed that in the now new CBA. Other than that, if you win Rookie of the Year, you get a pick in the international draft. There's a couple other incentives to it, so I was interested to see that. That wasn't bad. I know some other guys in there. There's some decent picks, but for the most part, like I said, this was a good draft. Other than probably three, I think this has to be probably one of the most generational talent groups I've seen. I think this might be better than last year's, but I see these guys being definitely impact players. Honestly, truthfully, I'm going to ahead and guarantee it. The top 5 picks will all be impactful players for their teams.
Guaranteed.
Dylan Cruz will win Rookie of the Year.
Guaranteed.
When he's called up. The first to win a World Series, I'm going to hold off on that. But who I think will be called up first, Paul Skin.
Guaranteed.
I see that. So let's get into the final thought of the podcast.
Thoughts are running through my mind. Someone took some time to find a minute or two to organize.
Final thought. Hey man, it's just another day, another dollar. Again, I just want to take this opportunity again to thank the Washington Mystics for giving me the opportunity to cover my first WNBA game, media credential. I use that as to say, anything's possible. As long as you put your mind to it, you stay consistent to it. I know for me, the big things are coming. Like I said, there's so many people I can thank and name, from family, friends, and even people I've networked with. There's so many people I can thank. More importantly, I just got to give thanks to God. Because without him, none of this is possible. So I'm just grateful for the opportunity. Like I said, I'm just going to go in there, soak it all in, and make my fame. Because people are going to know who I am. And I'm guaranteeing that you will see me on a TV screen in the next 3 to 4 years.
Guaranteed.
With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning into this episode of Big Nate Sports Talk Podcast. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Be tuned in for future episodes. Like I said, be tuned in for the WNBA episode, Week 10. Please like, comment, and subscribe for all future content. In the meantime, I also want to get this out. Season 15 will be uploaded. We have been high on that, and as well as getting the WNBA content up as soon as possible. But until then, please like, comment, and subscribe. I'll I'll catch you guys on the flip side. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. You can also, if you want, follow me on Twitter, one Nathan Snell, as I cover the game. And you'll also see an article from me via Maryland Sports Blog. But all right, ladies and gentlemen, peace.
Thank you for tuning in to Big Nate Sports Talk. If you enjoyed that episode, be sure to like, subscribe, and share the next big thing, the next up-and-coming sports journalist, Big Nate Sports Talk. It's on all the time, anytime.
I want to thank you, yeah. I want to thank you. Ooh. For all the times you put up with me. Thank you. And you helped me retain my sanity. Thank you. I want to thank you. And I want to thank you. All I want to do is say thank you for everything.